Welcome back to Kingdom of Yah. This is a little bit different video for you. This is going to be a cover of the book of Esther, side by side with the Hebrew and the Greek. And you'll see that they are quite a bit different. So this will be a little bit different than just a reading, but will actually be a little bit more of a breakdown and really trying to compare and contrast to see what's so different about this, both not just in the text, but the story overall. So here we are. Book of Esther. So I have this little disclaimer up here. This is from the God Culture. I'm not in any way associated with that channel, but I definitely don't agree on everything that he says, but he does make a pretty good claim that this may or may not be scripture. So apparently this was actually debated even in the first century, even by Pharisees themselves. So let alone the first century Christians, mainly between the East and the West, with the exception of, I believe, Rome and then the East side. Basically, the churches that Paul wrote to did not support Esther, and then Jerusalem did, and then all of the West side over there. And for whatever reason, Martin Luther did not like Esther or Second Book of Maccabees. So pretty interesting. On the surface, it doesn't seem to give any good reason on why. I'm still looking into whether this actually had any historical validation or what have you. I've seen just little hints here and there, but nothing major so far to see that Esther was actually a historical person or the people named it Esther or even the kings. So you'll see that I have quite a bit of highlighting here because, and I have not even gone through all of this, but a lot of the times you'll see like just little missing verses and what have you, but this is a lot more than that. So in the blue is going to be unique to the Greek Septuagint, and in the green is going to be unique to the Hebrew Masoretic, which I should have MT here, but however, this is from KJV version just because the language kind of matches up with most of the Greek Septuagint, and it's a little easier, and that's what most people like to use. So just for the sake of that, I have that there. So you can see that now it came to pass in the days of, don't really know how to say his name. I'm assuming this is Artaxerxes, although my study so far doesn't seem to really confirm that, so I'm not too sure on that. This is so-and-so, which reigned from India even to Ethiopia, over 127 provinces. So pretty short compared to this verse 1, which for some reason is just incredibly long. So let's see, in the second year, we don't even have a mention of a year of the reign of Artaxerxes, the great king. Just gonna do that. On the first day of Nisan, Mardo Caius, I don't know how you say that, the son of Yaris, son of so-and-so, son of so-and-so of the tribe of Benjamin, a Jew dwelling in the city of Susa. Now, Susa is an actual place that has had quite a bit of archaeology as well. So this is a place which is where most of Esther takes place, I believe. A great man serving in the king's palace saw a vision. Now, he was of the captivity of Nebuchadnezzar, I believe that is. Don't know how that's so different, but yeah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, so that's a name we can recognize. He carried captive from Jerusalem with the Jeconius, the king of Judea. And this is what's different. So I've just left this as different. It's really hard to compare that because they are just night and day different. And then this is what I have as the extra, or the unique, I should say. And you'll notice that in the Greek Esther, there's actual mention of God. Now, in the Greek, I have not gone to look at that yet, but in the Greek, it's usually just one word, and they're all generic words of God, like theos, kyrios, one or two words that are just very generic. So the same is true throughout the Septuagint. It doesn't ever use the Tetragrammaton or Yahuwah, and it will often just use the same word for even God or Elohim or Lord. A lot of the times, it never uses the Father's actual name. Not too sure on why with that, but yeah, this was translated by Jews, supposedly, commissioned by Ptolemy. Let's see. And maybe it was them not wanting to use the name, not quite sure. Maybe they thought it couldn't be written in Greek. Don't know. Yeah, you'll see that I was just going to put that up here as well. So, question, because it does not use the name of God Yahuwah. Or does it even use Elohim? I don't believe that it does. But you could do that. The Greek does. It doesn't, by using that same word, but you'll see there's a lot of context of actually referring to the Father, praying to the Father, things like that, where for some reason the Hebrew just does not at all. It doesn't even make a reference of giving thanks to the Father or anything like that. So it's quite a bit different of a story. And I've just kind of glanced over it. I have not really gone deep into Esther at all, really, before, let alone the Greek Esther. So I was just highlighting these just for the sake of research here. Pretty sure it's the same name, but who knows? You'll see, yeah, Persia, Persians, Media, Medes. It's all the same. Shushan, don't know, but yeah, little differences in numbers. 7 days, 6 days, and I've highlighted the feast because this makes a claim that Purim is a new feast day. So some give it more weight than others. I myself don't celebrate it. I have not seen enough to really need to or want to. Not to say that big events can't start a new feast day, but this is all on the Babylonian calendar, so I find a lot of issue with that myself, following the Enoch or Zadok calendar, which is what I've come to see that this is what's actually used, especially when it comes to feast days in Scripture. So this is what I've gone with. And I'm trying to line up all these verses here side by side so you can really glance and just see what's different. Again, 12th month, 10th month, even names the different month. How that gets messed up or changes, I'm not too sure. And you'll see that sometimes there's not even much to compare. 7 days is not even on that side. And we'll get to all that, but I'll try to finish reading through first of Esther here, and then we'll just compare, and then we'll take this chapter by chapter. You know what, let me zoom this in. I just realized this was not that close. And this was his dream. Behold, voices and a noise, thunders and earthquakes, tumult upon the earth, or crying out upon the earth. And behold, two great serpents came forth, both ready for conflict. And there came from them a great voice, and by their voice every nation was prepared for battle, even to fight against the nation of the just, the righteous. And behold, a day of darkness and blackness, tribulation and anguish, affection and tumult crying out upon the earth. And all the righteous nation was troubled, fearing their own afflictions, and they prepared to die and cried out to God. So here's our first mention of God. And this whole thing seems somewhat reminiscent of the day of the Lord, but seems a little odd at the same time. And from their cry there came, as it were, a great river from a little fountain, even much water, and light and the sun arose, and the lowly were exalted, the humble were exalted, were lifted up, and devoured the honorable. Then Mardochaius, who had seen the vision and what God desired to do, having awoke, kept it in his heart, and desired by all means to interpret it, even till night. And Mardochaius uh, rested quiet in the place with Gaptha and Tharha, Tharha, the king's two chamberlains, eunuchs who guarded the palace. And he heard their reasoning and searched out their plans, and learned, let's say, that they were preparing to lay hands on King. Does it actually say? Oh yeah, it doesn't say Artaxerxes over here. Okay. Prepare to lay hands on Artaxerxes, and he informed the king concerning them. And the king examined the two chamberlains, and they confessed and were executed. And the king wrote these things for memorial, and also Mardochaius wrote concerning these matters, and the king commanded Mardochaius to attend in the palace and gave gifts for the service. And Amon, the son of Amadathis, however, the Eugen, I don't know what that is, was honorable in the sight of the king. He endeavored to hurt Mardochaius and his people because of the two chamberlains of the king. Now we're finally back to where this is comparable. That in those days, when the king, let's call him Artaxerxes, sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was Shushan, which was in Shushan, the palace. Okay, city of Susa. That's interesting. So Susa is what I know it as. Shushan. Shushan. There's an in there for some reason. So now we can see that these are effectively the same. In the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast to all his princes and his servants, made a feast to his friends and the other nations. It's quite a bit different, I would say, and to the nobles of and to the power of Persia and Media. The chief of the satraps, don't know what that word is. Nobles and princes, provinces being before him. So a little different, but maybe same meaning. When he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty, many days, even 180 days. That's interesting. And he showed to them the wealth of his kingdom and the abundant glory of his wealth during 180 days. When these days were expired, the king made a feast to all the people that were present in Shushan the palace, both to the great and the small, 7 days, in the court of the garden of the king's palace. 7 days for a feast seems more common. Let's see, the king made a banquet to the nations who were present in the city 6 days in the courtyard of the king's house. About the same except for the amount of days. You can see that all right? And when these days were expired, I just read that. Let's see. Where were white, green, and blue hangings, which were adored with hangings of fine linen and flax on cords of fine linen and purple, fastened with cords of fine linen and purple. So just for fun here, I'm going to color code these. I usually do that with the kind of royal colors. So again, to make it at a glance comparable to see what's really different and not. I'm not really seeing this over there, but let's just show that that's different. I'm just going to do all the colors here. Let's do a darker color there. And white, we'll see what that looks like. It's pure white, not quite. But gray is going to disappear. I'm going to do whites with black. That may be unnecessary. Or white. See, I don't even know how to highlight these exactly. So it doesn't mention any colors over here, which were adorned with hangings of fine linen and flax on cords. So what's odd is flax and linen are the same. Linen is made of flax. 2 silver rings and pillars of marble, 2 golden and silver studs. Interesting. So, normally I might say this is unique. It's going to take a little bit to go through and actually highlight this properly. This is why it takes a little bit of teamwork here, so if you're ever interested in wanting to try to review some of this, and it might be even better to look at the actual Hebrew and the Greek at the same time and have a couple people doing this together. Let's see. The beds were of gold and silver. Now it says gold and silver. Couches on pavement of emerald stone. On pavement of red, blue, and white and black marble. Red and blue marble is a little odd. Don't know if that exists. White and black is common. Of emerald stone. And of pearl. And of Parian marble, Parian stone. And open worked coverings, flower having roses worked round about. So that whole thing is unique. And they gave them drink in vessels of gold and silver cups. So here's the consistent use of gold and silver, gold and silver, gold and silver. But here it's silver, silver, and then gold. Vessels being diverse from one another, royal wine in abundance according to the state of the king. And now we have an actual number over here. Gold and silver cups. And a cup of carbuncle, that's a gem, set out of the value of 3,000 talents, abundant and sweet wine, which were which the king himself drank. Okay, according to the state of the king. Yeah, that's a little bit different as well. Again, doesn't name a number. I'm just gonna highlight that for now. I mean, they're all so different, so I can't just highlight everything completely because then it'll just be a mess, kind of like these. So what really sticks out, I should say, let's just change that back. It's kind of bugging me now. And we're adorned with, let's say that this is the one that's unique. Golden and silver. Couches on payment of emerald. Does it say pavement? Yes. So let's just say that's different. On payment of red, blue, black. Yeah, that kind of marble is pretty odd sounding. So I'd have to look up if there is such colors in marble that we've seen at least. The drinking was according to the law. None did compel, for the king had appointed to all the officers of his house that they should do according to every man's pleasure. Okay? And this banquet was not according to the drinking was according to the law, was not according to the appointed law. Okay, so that's quite a bit different. Was not according to the appointed law, but so the king would have it, and he charged the stewards to perform his will, that of the company. So is this saying this is against some appointed law, but the king wanted to do so anyways? The drinking was according to the law. None did compel. Oops. Not sure what the compelling is for. But the king had appointed all the officers. So he uses this word even appointed in a different way. There's nothing about a king appointing. He charged, okay, stewards. He appointed all the officers of his house. Yeah, that would be about the same. To every man's pleasure. That of the company. To perform his will. So this is his will, not every man's pleasure. So don't really know how to highlight this right. A lot of the times when comparing these two different kind of texts, they're often very much the same, even if the Greek, has a different kind of grammar or different wording or something like that, or maybe expounds on it, more or less with detail. But it's usually pretty easy to show, okay, this part's different, this part's added, or missing, or this part's unique, I should say. Um, but this is pretty different, and that of the company to perform his will and that of the company to every man's will, every man's pleasure. Yeah, I'm assuming these are the same name, Aston, Vashti. That's quite a bit different. Also, Vashti, the queen. Okay, that's a queen. Just gonna do this here. Hmm. Made a banquet for the women in the palace where the king Artaxerxes dwelt. Made a feast for the women in the royal house which belonged to. Okay, so that's the same. On the seventh day, when the heart of king was merry with wine, being merry doesn't say with wine, so we'll put that as unique over here. He commanded, let's take this one name at a time. He told, let's see how many names. The seven chamberlains, so there should be seven. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so 7 and 7. So Bisthra, Bar, Bazan. It's hard to see any relationship between some of these. Bagtha, Bagthaza, Barthaza. It's got to be similar. I'm just going to say all these are different because that's quite a bit of variety there. England served in the presence of Artaxerxes, servants of the king. So yeah, it's a little bit different over here, but effectively the same. We'll leave that to bring. So that's the same queen. Being Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal to show the people, and the princess her beauty, for she was fair to look on, to bring the queen to him, to enthrone her and crown her with a diadem, so that's a type of crown, to show her to the to the princes, her beauty, to the nations, for she was beautiful. Princess, yeah, I mean, effectively the same. Let's this again. It does take quite a while to change all this, but once you do it, and then it's, for me at least, a lot easier to read. You can see that this is one person. So sometimes these titles can get kind of long, and this just lets you kind of glance by it and read it if you want or not. So you can just read this, as, but the queen refused to come to the king's commandment by his chamberlains. There was the king very angry, let's just say angry, and his anger burned in him. He listened to him not to come with the chamberlains to the king, so the king was grieved and angered. Okay. Then the king said to the wise men, which knew the times, for so was the king's manner towards all that knew law and judgment. Interesting. And he said to his friends, I'm going to say that's different. That's quite a bit different connotation there. Thus have Aston spoken. So he's saying, okay, that's different as well. Pronounce therefore upon this case law judgment. Law and judgment. Yeah, I'm just gonna say, oh, that's different. Whoops. Yeah, that's all different. Because it didn't say that she said anything there. Over here. But yeah, it ends with law and judgment the same. Oh, change the text color. Let's see, 14. We've got a little bit to go here. And the next to him, and next to him, let's just say, and next to him was so and so, so and so, so and so. Are these the same names? They are not. Do they have relations to the names up here? They do not. Okay, this is different again. So next to him were the 7 people, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face, and which sat the first in the kingdom. Which sat the first in the kingdom. Need that semicolon. So Artaxerxes and so and so and so and so, the princes of the Persians and Medes. So now this is including. Wait, that's not Artaxerxes, huh? What is that? Oops, Arcesius, Arcesius, however you say that, Arcesius. So is this princes? Yes, but there are 7 there. Next to him was. I'm gonna say all that's different. I mean, these are almost uncomparable for how different these really are. How this really affects the story, not too sure. I have skimmed down ahead and seen something quite a bit different, but the overall arching story, I'm not really sure on how that compares. I'd like to make some summaries of each of these and really be able to compare that. The princes of Persia who were near the king. Okay, next to him was. Okay, so let's say that is the same since it says it after here. Who sat chief in rank by the king, who sat first in the kingdom. Now we know what that means. And drew near to him. What will we do? Let's copy that over. What will we do to the queen according to the law? Because she has not performed the commandments of the king Artaxerxes by the chamberlains, and reported to him according to the laws how it was proper to do to the queen. So this is asking what should be done according to the law, and this is being told what should be done according to the law. So that's different. What will we do? Okay. However, I'm going to highlight that because she had not done the things commanded of the king by the chamberlains. Let's just highlight that. And I assume that's the same name. And Memucan answered before the king and the princes, Vashti the queen, has not done wrong to only, or to the king only, but also to the princes and to the people that are in all the provinces of the king Artaxerxes. Okay. And said to the king and the princes, has not wronged the king only, but also the king's rulers and princes. So, and all the people who are in the provinces. And it doesn't even mention the name. So that's different. Also the king's ruler and princes. So you know what? Let's say that's unique over here. For this deed of the queen will come abroad to all women, for he has told them the words of the queen. Okay, that's about the same. How she disobeyed the king, so that they will despise their husband in their eyes when it will be reported. Okay, that's different. And how she yeah, that's different. As then said he, she refused to obey King Xerxes. The king has commanded Vashti the queen to be brought. Okay, that's completely different. So all of that. Underlying that as well. Any names, pronouns, places, what have you that are multi-word, I generally like to do an underline there again, so you can see at a glance that it's a single thing. Yeah, let's highlight all that. So yeah, you can see that this is just starting to end up looking like a mess. Out of all the texts that I've done like this, I have not seen one that's this different and this hard to compare. Where I mean, the story is a little different, but so far at least, but there's so much big chunks missing and things that are just very unique to each other. This is yeah, kind of odd. So, and as it says at the top, I believe there's only a few fragments of Esther from the Septuagint, and most of the Septuagints don't have Esther. The Septuagint is not a single document. There's no original Septuagints left. There's just fragments and pieces. One set is just Psalms, um, and they're all from different places and what have you. So they're all compiled together to give us what we do have today. Not certain that's why the Greek will have certain verses just completely omitted, or if they just weren't there originally. So it's hard to say. Sorry, getting all of this. This is inserted by whatever translation I have here. Let's just finish this up. Likewise, the ladies of Persia and Media say to this day to all the kings and princes. So this day, all the ladies of the chiefs, having heard what she said to the king. A bit different. Which have heard the deeds of the queen. Thus will there arise too much contempt and wrath. She said to the king, dare in the same way to dishonor their husband. Okay, yeah, this is different yet again. Very hard to compare. I don't even know where to put this highlighting. I'm just going to put it there for now. If it pleases the king, if it seems good to the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, a decree. Let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that not be altered. Let it be written according to the laws of the Persians and Medes, not altered. Okay, finally they're saying the same thing. And let the king give her royal estate to another that is better than she. And let the king give her royalty to a woman better than her. Okay, finally a verse that's exactly the same. Yeah, I mean, again, through all the texts that I've compared, 90% of the time they're effectively the same. Maybe a little bit extra information in the Greek, or even vice versa. Sometimes there's a little extra tidbits and stuff here and there, but this is just insanity here. We've got just a handful of verses that are even the same or comparable. So yeah, Esther's not really my thing right now, but if anyone can give more clarity, that would be definitely helpful on maybe why they're different or really what's different between the stories before I go through all of this. And when the king's decree, which he will be published through all his empire, for it is great. Let the law of the king, which may widely proclaimed in his kingdom, and so will all the women give honor to their husbands, from the poor even to the rich. Will give honor to their husbands, both great and small. Okay. And the saying pleased the king and the princes, and the king did according to the word of that guy. Okay, he sent letters to all the king's provinces, and to every province according to the writing thereof, and every people after their language, that every man should bear rule in his own house, and that it should be published according to the language of every people. He sent to the kingdom throughout seven provinces, and to the king's provinces, several provinces, according to their language, in order that men might be feared in their own houses. To every after their language should bear rule in his own house, and it should be published. Yeah, I guess that kind of is redundant, but it's effectively the same. Okay, so that's Esther 1. Um, just to give a quick glance here, there's another big chunk in Esther 3 and Esther 4. Also, a little bit of a missing chunk there. Esther 5, Esther 6, 7, 8. 8. A lot there. 9. It's about the same. And then 10. So 10 is just 3 verses, and there's a long third verse here. So a little odd. And not that the Greek would actually have an extra long verse. In both the Hebrew and the Greek, there are no verses, although there are chapters in the Greek, whereas there are not chapters in the Hebrew. So, interesting bit there. So, yeah, and I'm sure that this needs a lot more work as well, to really go through, compare, break this down, and maybe even offer summaries at the end here where, I might put maybe its own thing or put its, own summary here. I'll even do that just to remind myself. Let's just go ahead and do that. Color I want. That's the color I want. Just put that here as well. Let's just say summary right there for now. And that way we can be able to compare the summary of each chapter to really just explain straightforward what is the story talking about, what's important about the story, and then see how they contrast. So thank you for watching, and I'll continue to Esther 2, and there are 10 chapters here, and we'll really be able to dive into this and give me your opinion on what you think of Esther overall, even just the Hebrew text. We'll see as we go along here where they will mention God and the Father more often, especially in these nice blue chunks here. So it names him quite a bit of times versus 0 times over in the Hebrew. So mind you, this is the only Hebrew text that does not mention the Father, and as far as I know, doesn't even mention the gospel of the kingdom or prophecy or anything. So as we can see in the Greek, there seems to be some sort of prophecy, vision, things happening from angels, something with the Father. So it could be a completely different story. So I'm not quite sure what to think about that. But again, thanks for watching.